Hey, welcome to the Horsemanship Remark Show. Can someone tell me if I did this right this morning? Is this the scheduled live? I kind of feel so because it seems like a lot of you guys are here. So I wanted to see if Michael has the link here. Let's. I'm so late. When am I this late? Oh, it's because certain people are watching this morning and they're going to make fun of me. But there's a reason my brain is a little bit. He does have the link here. So let's see um, if Michael, we have to get Michael. Um, are you good? Michael Sparling, do you have the link? Let's see. You guys, it is finally cooler here. Jen, good morning. Who else is here this morning? Let's see if Michael, can I see who's here? No, no. Sarah, hi, good morning. How's everything going? Who watched the bareback videos the other day? Um, let's see. Hold on, you guys. Let me make sure that Michael has the thing. I want to talk about the scientific method this morning. And let's try it one more time. Michael Sparling, send it. He should have it. Jody, good morning. So, you guys, last week, hi, Julie. Good morning. Can somebody find out if Michael is working on um, tuning in here this morning? Because this is going to have to help me out a little bit here. Because I can't quite tell if he is um, able to join here. So, we'll just talk for a minute. We had a big thunderstorm yesterday morning, which is crazy. You watched the videos? Julie, tell me what your thoughts are on that. That was so fun. I hope I made my point about why that could oh, here we go. Why it does it on the very bottom so that here we go, Michael. This will work, I think. Oh my gosh. All right. All right.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show. Kind of sucks on the day that you only have an hour.
And I have awkward sunlight in my face. I
Uh,
don't have a lot of adjustability with my camera because it's just propped up.
do
So
you have
you're going to have to make yourself shorter. Unless
a
I went and got a phone book to make my chair taller, but I don't have a taller chair around.
time's
I'm
up?
at my brother's, so we're coming to you from Chicago suburbs today.
Awesome. My nephew, his hockey team is the
Nephew's here.
Blackhawks,
Oh, yeah?
and he always calls it Chicago. So it's when you said you were in Chicago, I was like, oh. So how are you feeling about it?
Been several years since. I don't know. It's just different. It's good to be somewhere different once in a while.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
spent a decent amount of time here. Emily went to school here. And so after my jaunts all over the East Coast and internationally, I was here for, I don't know, maybe 6 months before we got married. So
Oh,
spent a little bit of time running around here. Can't remember where I think I worked on the north side of Chicago somewhere for a furniture fabricator. But
oh,
I'd run all over the place. This is
yeah,
way back.
yeah. I think I do. I do remember that.
What
Well,
year was that? That would have, I don't know. That would have been, I think, before we knew each other.
I think so too. That was a while ago.
That was like over 20 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a long time.
Funny how time flies.
Yeah.
So, what, Corey, good morning. Good morning. I'm excited to be over at your place. I really do hope I can bring Novella tomorrow. I'm teaching a lesson block over at her place tomorrow. So, Should be pretty fun. Well, do we have horsemanship on our mind at all this morning? You?
Not terribly much. My brain kind of is with nieces and nephews at the moment. We went and saw a fun hockey practice, but yeah, what happened last week? And I've been out here since Monday, so uh, start talking. I'll come up.
Mm.
That's my usual line, right? This week I really need it. Sorry about the modeling on my face here. Pretty soon the sun's gonna pop out and I'll be blind. Pop through the trees.
Well, okay. So here is what I was thinking about this morning,
Okay.
which I have been thinking about all week, but it kind of bubbles to the surface a little bit more. Like I mentioned in my note on the reminder post, um, I've been thinking about what my dream is in a horse that I halter break. Which kind of sounds funny because it's like, well, duh. I mean, how hard can it be to think? But I have been thinking about it. I guess what I mean is what I want her to feel like. I have a BLM filly, you guys, done, giant, looks like buck's horse beef, um, which kind of sucked me in a little bit. But I'm just going to get her halter broke and doing some things, and then she's going to be available for. She's actually available for purchase because I own her outright. Um, and have I mentioned she's ginormous? But so as I've been developing her, there's a feel that again sounds dumb, but I'm hunting around for it. I'm feeling around for it, obviously, in a situation where the horse know these things. So it's been 2 years since I have done that because I got feathered 2 years ago. Side note, flour has been a tough nut to crack. Oh, we're on.
Hooking on and
Developing some affinity, you know. Yesterday she was finally like just exploring my hand. She hooks on, you know. Well, at the very least, like she comes over. She trotted over to me. I think I told you the other day, like, hi.
hmm
Which ties into the other thing I'm thinking of, which is the scientific method, the curiosity. Um, but yesterday was the first day that she wanted to explore touching me. Like she was interested. Seriously, guys, it's been almost 2 months. It's been like 7 weeks. Versus Revlon is, we're going along at a kind of a normal pace. But I was thinking about the difference between kind of putting her in a situation like we talked about before, flower, where she has to deal with me, like if I were to rope her or something like that, versus what I have gone to, which is kindle curiosity and shape some sort of movement. But anyway, back to Revlon. When I started really doing some things with her, I had the idea of, really unlocking her longitudinally so that she could, come forward with all 4 feet um, as part of what I, right away. And so then when I finally got to sending her out and around and then making a corner, you know, it was pretty cool because then I was thinking, because at guidepost one of my things is unhaltering with quality, which is sort of a high level thing to be at guidepost one, I would say. Like, but I think that that's where it should be. So I was thinking about unhaltering with quality, and definitely two things. First of all, what that ended up leaving her as, you know, because when I'm drawing her back and forth or guiding her back and forth off the halter knot like we were doing, at your place, or like with two hands on the halter from the front, you can just feel the spine. I want to say feel the spine align, but I'm not for sure that I Love the rhyme. Chelsea, good morning. Yes, Chelsea, come on. You need another one. Oh my gosh, that would be my dream. I would give her to you if you can afford shipping. Um, so
Uh-oh.
I would. I would. Wait, and I'm not gonna give her away here. But Chelsea could have her for free. Yeah. So there's absolutely a feeling when the spine lines up. Brr, You know, like you're like, aha, it's very obvious, right? It's very obvious. So then unhaltering her, and so I do everything with these two little guys, and then I'll sit with them for a while, you know. And then so watching her, all these wrinkles at the base of the neck, which are important. Um, and I was like, oh, that's so awesome because this guy had gotten a halter on her, and I guess he could kind of mess with her a good amount, is what I heard. I didn't actually talk to him, and I really would definitely go after him again. She was still wild when I got her. So she must have definitely, I don't know how he got the halter on her or what they did, but she was very much connected to him, obviously, because I had to kind of win her over. And
Hol Go after him again. You better clarify what you mean by that.
I would take another horse that he has messed with, whomever that is. I
Yes.
can't remember.
Took
That's what
took me a second to figure out what you meant by it. I arrived at that, but figured
I'm
there were probably
on that because there was really nothing bad. But what I'm saying is there was a brace or a big like knot, maybe in the middle of her neck that I for sure did notice. But she did not have any automatic braces, or at least by the time I got to it, you know, there wasn't. You know how what I mean? Like if somebody
mhm,
first of all, she hadn't been taught to be a coyote. Second of all, she didn't have any, like, if you put a draw on the halter, either way, left or right or forward, it wasn't like a brace. Nothing.
mhm,
And it really did go to the feet. So now she didn't know anything about backing. Definitely didn't know anything about going out, or at least I'm sorry if she did and I missed it, but couldn't. I don't think so. Out and around, putting me in the pocket. Um, I already had her yielding the hindquarters loose, so it's hard to know what was in there, but pretty good because a lot of people that would, well, I'll just say it wasn't a guarantee that there wasn't a brace in, right?
yeah,
So, but that knot at the base or right, let's say at C3, and down a ways was definitely strong. And so unlocking her on her whole that as especially then when I'm observing her just around after I take the halter off, it's pretty cool to get to watch the muscles that have then been turned loose. Lasting, right? And I'm not sure what I was going to say about that. Oh, just I guess that the fact that you can really feel it in there, and I'm hunting around for that. And so as I'm thinking to myself, the things that I want in my job, just for myself, like the qualities that I want in there. I guess it's sort of hard to describe, but there definitely is a looseness that I feel like I can put my finger on more. I'm sounding retarded, don't you think, Michael, in my limitation in the words? Um, Good morning, Katie. Good. Good morning, Lisa. Lisa is having the deer problem at her place. I'm so sorry. Maybe between all of us we can figure it out. So, do you am I making Am I explaining that, sharing that at all valuably?
Um, yeah, I don't know that you're detailed to paint a different picture. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know how much you're conveying more than has been, at least in my mind, when I'm working with it. Um, and I do think, as you say, to watch it kind of carry, if you will, after you take the halter off. Well, if you've had them turned loose, uh, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna carry, especially if it's clean enough that you're like, I'd follow him again. Like
Mhm.
it shouldn't be a okay. We kind of got you turned loose, but now that I'm turning you loose, like taking the halter off, now you're kind of like, oh, done with that. Thank God I'm out of there. So, um,
There's when we were talking about, when I was there at your place, and we were talking about the qualities, you guys, and the qualities of specifically looseness and gait.
mhm,
Uh, what do we say? Looseness and directability and engagement. And it's kind of interesting with Revlon. I suppose we have some level of engagement that we're looking for, that I'm looking for in a hindquarter yield. But what I keep thinking of is mental engagement. You know, but the directability, of course, we want directability, but we also that looseness and another layer of understanding or being able to feel what I want. You and I and the gang were all hunting that up riding, but it's pretty cool to put that in her, and she didn't have it. I would say she definitely um didn't have the complete unlocking longitudinally. She didn't know about that. Um, really, I would say no. But it didn't take her too long to start to get it. And the other thing, Michael, is I was thinking about that framework of, friends first, puzzles with answers. You get to move your own body. There are unlimited guesses. Those things are, and I would add, there her noticing that there are details within the things that I'm doing with her body, having her notice that section of the framework has been pretty cool. It's not really the first time we've done that. We've been talking about that for 10 years. Um, but it is interesting to feel around for putting those keystones at the base, and it's helping me to feel around for that level of quality when I'm writing. And when it floats away, or kind of disappears or gets, you know, I would say fades is a little bit what I'm thinking of. You know what I mean? Like if you had that level of quality and curiosity, like there, then even if it stays, but like you start to lose some of it or fading, because I don't know, losing is maybe not the right word, but having that fade, I mean, I've been looking through a microscope lately. You can have it dialed in, but also it can fade a little bit. And just really noticing that on another level is pretty fun.
and you're saying there the mental fading in and out,
And
because
also
I'm
the physical component as well.
the physical component as well.
Because obviously, when the horse is lined up, for instance, I'm scratching her shoulders and she is very itchy because I think she's wormy too. Side note, it's kind of funny, the whole worming thing that becomes such an issue, with horses at times. You're like, horses don't really come with that. You just have to play around with their mouth at the right time. And I just can't imagine it's going to be a huge deal. But anyway, I haven't done it yet. She's very itchy. And, she definitely naturally would lean into the scratches. Obviously. But if I'm on this side, like let's say we're here, right? And everything is perfect. And then I go down her side a little bit and it gets this side and it gets to be this, which is natural. I've definitely lost the alignment, which means you're going to lose the looseness, which means you're going to lose the quality. Now it's just an intellectual item on her part, but like it's so funny, Michael. She's like up here.
There's a difference between going over there and scratching and losing your alignment because she's leaning into that scratch than if you're going over there and she's going, okay, now I'm guarded. Because
Right,
after a scratch, she's going to get aligned again.
uh,
Or come around and say, give me more of that. And then, you have kind of your flexion into the scratch and then the flexion coming around and saying, hey, that, so you're kind of just rolling through the middle, which is a or a lateral loosening too.
100%,
I don't know.
100%. But I was like, Revlon, listen here. You are huge. You can't there we cannot get into the habit at all, even by accident, of you leaning on the inside front foot, let alone then changing your flexion to be towards you. And like,
Scratch
oh
on me.
yeah, not do that. I can't even tolerate it whilst I'm trying to get her, friendly. Not hard, right? So, that's, I guess, an extreme example of losing the alignment.
Hmm.
But even when it sort of fades, I guess that's what I'm trying to put my finger on, is feeling I would say, Michael, the technical alignment of her spine from her tail to her pole and down her tongue too. Buck would laugh at me for talk, but whatever. This is real. Um, It is for sure another level of quality, and as you say, it definitely involves a lateral balance. There's a balance in there, Michael, but also it's almost like a stretch, but I don't know if I love that word because it should not be disconnected from the feet.
Yeah.
And yes, go ahead.
Well, is articulation the right word? Or is that just going to be longitude? I mean, it is
Maybe.
like everything lining up and expanding.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've been thinking as you're talking about how much for it to actually express itself down to the feet, it has to have the mental connected in there too. Um, but then you're back to getting the mental engagement through the physical or the physical through the mental, and they hold back and forth an intertwined element of that in the various ways that you might shape that up in a horse or evoke that because horses that have been taught to come back, you might get them relatively freed up one side to the other, or at least it's coming along where it wasn't there previous. And therefore, of course, they're going to have that brace back if you haven't got them coming forward and through with the in a hind quarter yield. Um, so then you just put a little feel on there, and their initial response is, either just some stretching out their neck, but it not going down to their feet, or worse yet, them coming up,
Both
right?
both are bad.
Yeah. And, you know, dallying on and putting a feel on there that puts a bit more of a tug, and letting them think about that a few times, and not obviously jerking them off their feet. Um, because certainly if you have one that goes up, you can make it worse in that case. But um, putting a draw on there like you might from a saddle horse, you might have a little bit more. Um, well, you do have a little bit more strength, or a lot more strength, but it's more difficult to just kind of find that spot to no feet or up like this, and go, well, I just hang here and whatever. This is just something I do with people, and then I eventually come, or then, you know, kind of making that a little bit more difficult to leave in there. They can be going like this, not having it be too much of a mental stretch, because that's what they've always done, but then it is a bit of a mental reach for them to get their body forward. um, so you're obviously can't disconnect the horse. You have mental and physical, but going from that to, the way you're going about it, particularly where you're talking about, um, what's the second one, not feather, but
Flower.
flower. With flower is getting her buy-in, her curiosity, and her like really wanting to be a part of it, and having it kind of start there before you'd even put any sort of draw on there. And the so that, like, before we even put the halter on, and then when you put the halter on, the kind of feel you might have, that's very inviting, rather than, okay, now they've got this on, it's time to feel that pressure and follow it. And then what you might feel, starting a colt and getting a rope on him and moving the hindquarters, or even a halter, and kind of working them horseback, getting them freed up either side, and then kind of riding off, which is, if you've got them freed up and they don't have that kind of negative response to it, oftentimes that can be just like putting a halter on one that you've got pretty well wanting to be with you anyway. You just put that little feel there, and then, like, sure, I'll follow you. Like, we're gonna have a whole drape in the rope sometimes, and other times that rope starts to come tight, but they're turned loose enough laterally, they just kind of flow right up that. And then, um, I guess the other would be being able to accomplish any of those things, like the dallying and kind of drawing off with them dally to the saddle horn, and being able to accomplish that from the ground, of putting enough of a draw in there that it's like, well, work this out. Like, there's so many iterations of
Yeah, yeah.
applying pressure, and one not necessarily better than the other, in large, on a whole. One may be more fitting than another, or more efficient than another in given situations. Uh, but under them all, having a feeling that gives the horse a chance. And that chance might be more drawn out, might be
Yeah.
more of a mental idea than it is a physical component. Um, I'm thinking just picking up the line and not having it come tight, but just offering that feel with a huge float in the rope. And the horse can feel that. And then they go, am I going to follow that? This is new. This is different. And okay, I guess, sure, why not? I'm turned loose. Off we go. That was just new to me. I didn't brace against it, but like, I'm just figuring out what all this means. Um,
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's just crazy the variety of presentations you might have.
Yeah, and
And I guess thinking of what are the commonalities between them all. And
well,
I think the bottom line is you have to offer it with a feel and give them a time to respond and make the decision to move their body. Whether you're bringing that pressure on kind of strong because you're trying to break through some brace that's been there for a good long time, you're still not trying to force that, and you taper it on to the spot where the horse is going, what do I have a choice here. What do I think about this? How am I going to respond? And so,
mhm, for sure. I think part of what I'm trying to put my finger on is making sure that I don't accidentally make the gap between the physical feeling of the halter behind her ears and it flowing to her feet. I don't want to make that gap any longer than it needs to be. So, wanting that to be as seamless as possible. So, as it's like we want to set it up so the horse can find it. That's what Ray Hunt said anyway. I don't know what he knows, um, but z- when and that requires a level of mental and emotional engagement and an idea, having set it up so that the horse can even like have it somewhere on the menu. But also, I want it to be unconscious too.
yeah.
I don't want to accidentally put, and I'm maybe saying this imperfectly, but just thinking it out. I don't want to put this big long consideration in
hmm
it all. I
Yeah.
just would like that to have been set up by me
To
enough.
where it's inevitable.
Yeah, inevitable and just is a part of it. Like there's no
Mhm.
disconnection is the dream between putting a draw. Of course, you can do it without a rope, but I mean, I did that a long time ago with her, weeks and weeks and weeks ago, right? And but you think about, is it straight? How much is it in alignment when she first makes a corner? How am I going to leave her? How am I going to, start to pet her, even though she was super wild? So, of course, she wanted, maybe not super wild, but she was definitely wild. So, she naturally would want to have me on one side or the other. So, right away, building in the sweet spot being, here. Okay. So, having all those things be a part of it without a rope of any kind, and so, building in when she does feel that, to have it just go right to the feet, like water, dripping off a hill. Like it just happens. And I don't want to add a decision when there doesn't need to be a decision. It's a weird way to think about it a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
So Sarah, who's a body worker,
And
adds,
that's sorry, before you say that, and that's a decision whether there's much pressure or not. Can you avoid the
well,
weight or the lag in just the slight eh, that's can you avoid the lag, say that kind of the two extremes of very, very little pressure of just like an invitation that lifts a little bit of the float out of the rope, even though it's still afloat. I mean, it picks up the rope and lets that feel go down the rope, um, to the horse that does kind of lean back into it. Like, okay, we got to find a different answer and get there a little, shorten this delay time. Either way, a lot of, a pretty good draw or just the slightest invitation, not wanting there to be a lot of delay in there. Delay mentally, it's like, oh, I'm offering this, but
Yeah, it's like,
Maybe I should follow that.
uh
Like
I'm like, no, no,
let
no.
him find it, but like we don't want to have to. Hopefully, you've set it up. Ideally, you've set it up to where letting him find it it doesn't take him a long time to consider.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, ideally, they don't know any different. And this is the
Yeah.
thing is like having everything connect to the feet right away. It's interesting with a wild horse or a totally clean horse. Um, I guess the only thing about having like an unhandled horse is that you do have a lot of scattering that's possible. Um, but I don't suppose it anyway, from the beginning, not disconnecting the feet from the mind, the feet from the emotions, the feet from what I'm doing. And one of the things that for certainly years ago I would not have thought of is that um putting the pressure or adding a very firm feel, it can come on smoothly, right? But I don't want to just do it so slowly that it, at least not this point, with the skill level that I hopefully am able to play around with. I do want to be able to also put a draw on her, and the more, if she feels a stronger draw, then it's still just going to the feet, so she's pushing herself forward a bit more. Now that has to
Hmm.
be up with engagement so that she has enough bend in her hocks, so that if I put more of a draw, like around the corner, and put a draw on her, like I could just be slowly and she could pitter patter right up to me. Or if I'm like, yo, and she just automatically, it goes to her hind feet and forward,
Hmm.
right? Because I think avoiding any kind of pressure that comes on at all abruptly, and then the horse is going to have a problem.
Hmm.
It's like, mm, I don't want that, I think. And so the mental engagement, as you're saying, but also the physical engagement is required so that
Hmm. There
being.
can that can happen without a delay.
Yes, correct. Exactly. And I would imagine if you set that up, and I certainly have done this in the past, you set it up um, poorly, then sure enough, you're going to accidentally put a brace in there.
Hmm.
Not has to rearrange themselves, which takes time, has to rearrange themselves so that then they can follow it.
Hmm.
And man, I can do a better job about that with all my horses. You know, Making sure they can lead up, absolutely, right? But can I fiddle around with alignment and engagement and possibility, not babying it all, but just making sure it all kind of works. It's not the first thing I'm going to. How I guess in some of the horses I've had a long time, how can I make sure Marshmallow is a good example. How can I get those things married closer together so that um the head, the spine, the mind is connected to the feet. And the other thing, thinking about, we always think about, is the horse united laterally, which is huge deal. But also, is the horse united longitudinally, which could mean two things. First of all, are they wiggly anywhere? Like, does it have a wave in it? But secondly, if we want to get super technical, are we spreading out the vertebra at AE, i.e., stretching them in a way that disconnects the top line from the feet? And so Sarah says, if it helps when I'm doing technical alignment, it gets evaluated with looseness. I check how loose they are through their spine to see where the problem in alignment. Of course, yeah. Yeah. So you have to have a looseness, but so there needs to be enough stretch or elasticity between the vertebra and along the muscles along the back, in the muscles along the back, but not more than what we want for it to flow right to the feet without any delay. You think about that, you guys, when when we're riding a horse long and low, and I've done this, where I have stretched the horse from their withers to their nose too far, which fucks with the balance overall. Um, and also, honestly, is disconnecting the front of the horse with her hind legs. So when we say stretch him, it's like because Anne Grimmett, now stretch him out, which of course is true. When you are doing some contractions, then you want to make sure you allow that looseness. But I think it can be, and like I said, I've done this in the past. You can take it too far.
If it's only a section of the horse.
And if it's disconnected from the feet, you've accidentally made more work for yourself or gone awry. And so having an opportunity, this is what I would say, having an opportunity with Revlon and hopefully with flour to do a better job this time around, which hopefully we can each time, bearing in mind that yes, I want looseness, but no, I don't want disconnection. And then, we think about the inevitability of the floppiness that I have loved a long time. But also, I think we can all agree we want that. It's pretty technical, really, to think about contracting a muscle and turning a muscle loose. And then you have this whole 900-pound yearling that is muscle and bone and um, ligaments and tendons and a mind and blood and chemistry and like this whole thing working together. The game, the chase is sort of educating that, connecting it to me, the person, and then hopefully, it transfers to another person, connecting that united operation and educating, like, okay, here's our language together. And you know, here are the philosophical points we're going to share. Here are the physiological, like a state that I want you in. These are the actions that I like want you to take. Here is my system of aids that is never going to change. Here are the qualities that work for you and for me. So let's just do those. I'm always going to preserve your mental engagement the best I can, feed your curiosity, help you be quiet and peaceful. And nothing I do is going to disconnect you and disengage you in dreamland. All of those things, we can disconnect all of that accidentally. I'm sure I'm doing it, but hopefully less so.
Mhm.
And I think less so, I guess, is what I was starting the top of the show with, because I have more of an awareness. And then I think of like the horses I have now, some of which are very clean, uh, Prim is a great example. And I hopefully won't have to repair, um, work on, things that, or I do have to, I guess, because I have disconnected it all by accident as I'm learning and, growing and, um, evolving. And so I guess I'm thinking about the repair work that I have to do. If we think, okay, we want our horse to be a part of us, we want the horse to be our body. We're the ones, getting carried around, we're one thing. There's peace in the rectangle. The feel is the fact that they flow along in the rectangle. Um, that I think it, they do it, all of that. Well, the more it just stays connected from the beginning, leaving more and more up to the horse all along. Well, how much can we leave up to the horse in the beginning?
Mhm.
So we don't have to have this whole process of like, oh, maybe more, it's like, well, what can be left and float along with from the beginning
Mhm.
whilst educating the horse?
Yeah.
Don't you have answers for this, Michael?
I don't have answers, but a while back, and it applies here again. A while back, as you were talking, I was thinking, the dream is to not disconnect the mind from the body, where like they just stay doing what their mind is saying. And that's one of the things that is kind of neat about working a horse without getting a lead rope on right off the bat or roping them is, well, the part I actually thought is, even if you're in a round corral, it's very easy to do that. You apply too much pressure, they're going, well, my body's here because the round corral is preventing it from leaving, but my mind is going, get me the F out of here. Um, so that can happen even without a rope on them. Uh, if you're if you don't have some idea of what you're trying to accomplish and what you're looking for and what to encourage and how to get about it without overdoing it like that, in terms of getting the horse mentally to connect more rather than disconnect more in a situation where they might be concerned.
Yeah. So,
Uh, I'll go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, just real quick, the halter and lead rope. Are you
Hmm. Hmm.
was it Ray or Tom or Bill or I don't remember. Um, Set it up so what did it make the wrong thing difficult but not impossible.
Hmm.
And I think you could even roll that back more. But I think you could even roll that back more so that it's just you're setting it up
Hmm.
so they can find, in the sense that it doesn't have to necessarily be so difficult, especially if you're starting with something clean that is just flowing around like water. Maybe that's a good way to think about
Yeah, because it yeah, at a certain point, you're like, "Well, this horse is just drifting around. Maybe my presence is causing it, but I'm not actively doing anything outside of just going, well, I'll flow around too and following it till it gets curious. Maybe you're even outside of the flight zone, but there's curiosity that comes up. I mean, there's just so many,
it. Which shrinks the flight zone if you have some.
yeah,
Mhm.
there's just so many levels at which you can set it up and let the horse do more of it or less of it on the get go so the horse can do more and more of it, you know?
Which I think there.
Like if you're just doing that and then the horse is just like hooking on, well, you're setting up and the horse is doing more of it, even though your setup is like you're not doing too much of any of it. You're trying not to do any of it. You're just like very passively, you know, not telling the horse move your hindquarters. You're just gonna go walk behind the horse and go grab a bucket off the fence or something, and the horse moves their hindquarters. Well, there you're just setting up and let the horse find it. And e- even though you are intentional in doing that, the timing with which you walk behind them to get the bucket is
Or that.
potentially influenced. They're not feeling, hopefully, if you set that up right, like you're trying to move them. They're just going, "Oh, where are you going?" Or, I want to keep my eyes on you. So now I'm gonna naturally, because I'm connected, step my body over in this manner. So you can get them flowing around like that without them feeling, like we've had before. Are you the antagonist or are you
That.
know,
Hmm.
someone that's inviting interaction, you know?
Yeah, that's right. And then the dream is that if the body can flow naturally because you've set it up towards it, well, however the dream is that they move, and then if the mind rolls towards you, which it will if the body is not disconnected from the mind, and then there's peace. It's like swimming in the ocean and you feel that current, or you feel the pocket of warm water. You notice it. It's like, "Ooh, this is warmer here." Who knows why? Could be a current from Hawaii, but also, could just be a patch of sunlight, or who knows? But you notice
Someone
it.
pissed in the pool ahead of you.
Gross.
I
We,
just took your analogy that was like
I,
2.1 to 2.4 right there, analogy level.
I think that was a negative 2.4.
I was thinking, hey, that's a good analogy, and then I ruined it.
But still, the point is the same, right? If the
Yeah.
horse is integrated, and we will go just real quick because I know you want to get to the family. But if the horse is whole, which they are to begin with, and we are, I want
That
to, is what
on
I.
the Okay, hold that. Just because on the water analogy, not only do you notice it, but it spikes curiosity. Like the other day, we were down at the river, and it's like, why is it like suddenly like there it was comfortable, and now it's just suddenly cold. It spikes your like you notice it, but it also is like, why is that? Like it spikes curiosity to be thinking, what would it cause that? So,
Whole
and
thing could roll in your favor if
yeah,
somehow you've set it up, and then they happen upon that current of peace, that thing that and it's like, oh yeah, baby. And one can, I guess this will wrap this up. Aside from your comments, is can we? What level of quality can we have to not disconnect the horse from themselves in any which way? Which we could all probably do. What you just outlined, if we're aware enough about it. Um, and then, of course, it gets harder as we are trying to teach specific technical things that are you know physically connected to the animal without disconnecting them. I want to read Julie's comment just real quick. My physical therapist has had me actively engage my neck muscles for a moment before I start a stretch. Makes sense, in the same principle with the horse, yeah. And helping them loose over their top line. Awareness, some body workers would say, awareness of those muscles. But Michael, you follow me in terms of that is what I noticed with Revlon. And that is what I'm hunting with flour. I could have done a better job. Although you remember when I started to go sideways, I had a kind of a meltdown about that because I was like, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. It's not what I want with flour.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm thinking of that more with all of them, which is why, doing one of these a year is pretty valuable to me. Anything else before we go?
Not really. Thank you, Buck, for watching this show and enjoying this episode so much.
You probably didn't, but you never know. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sure if you with rapt attention, I bet we got like some of it if there was that. That's why we have our own show. Okay, sounds like you have to go too. So
Little resting spot here. Someone was curious to look in.
well, we made it though. Sorry for being late,
We made it.
you guys. And I guess I'll have to find out. Did any of you guys get to this via the link I posted last night? I don't even I didn't see a place where it says start the scheduled broadcast. That which is what I would like it to say. Would you like to start your scheduled broadcast? Yes. That is exactly what I would like. So who knows? Maybe it's because I was 3 minutes late or 5 minutes late or whatever it was. Okay, you guys. So I believe that I have the comments in here. Check that out and see if there's anything else you want to post on there. I would definitely be super happy to read them, or you can message me. And Horsemanship Insider videos went up on Sunday. Look under skill builders for the student members, for me and Zorro, with some bareback ideas for maintain gait, steerability, maintain then a change of gait. Very important. Even if you think you're doing it, it's good to put your mind on it for 10 or 15 minutes. So there's that. Have an awesome time.
There you go.
Have a
Will
great time.
do.
City. Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. Michael and I will see you next Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
Have a good week, everybody. Chelsea, message me if you're serious, okay? All right. Bye.
Bye.